Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason. Speaking to you here in my basement in the great state of Kansas. And in this video, I'm doing my what I've been watching lately, covering what movies I've been watching over the last week. And so see what I feel here on Jason the Old Millennial. Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well here on a Friday afternoon. As usual, at the end of the week, I like to cover, just do mini reviews of what movies I've kind of watched for the first time over the last week. I like to do TV shows too, but I don't have enough time to get to the TV shows. I don't know, at some point, I'm gonna have to do a special one just on TV shows. I've also watched some documentaries, but I don't know, again, I might have to cover that on a different channel or a different video at some point. But yeah, I just like to cover movies. Mostly these are movies that I catch on streaming over the last week. And I got 3 movies basically that I've watched that I like to talk about. 2 pretty bad ones, 1 really good one. First, I guess we'll start with the bad ones. Saw a movie called See How They Run, which came on HBO Max it was like just a week or 2 ago. It kind of premiered on HBO Max. Of course, the movie, I guess, came out in theaters earlier this year, or I don't think that long ago. It wasn't a movie that was very heavily marketed because I never heard of it, except I saw some other YouTubers review the movie, and that's the first time I heard about the movie. And it's kind of this murder mystery comedy where a murder happens at a British play, Agatha Christie murder play, and somebody gets murdered, and then a real, investigator has to come and investigate the murder and interview all the people that are involved with the play and try to figure out, who did it, kind of thing. Anyway, so it's almost like an Agatha Christie movie within a play or kind of thing, I think is what they're going for. It stars Sam Rockwell as kind of the main detective. Saoirse Ronan, however you pronounce her name, plays a police officer who wants to be a detective who follows him around, trying to learn, how to do the case. And then you got people like Adrian Brody has a small part in here, and there's a couple other actors I've seen here and there that are in the movie. Anyways, and so it kind of has, it's supposed to. I feel like it's trying to have this big cast, and it's supposed to try to resemble to me like a Wes Anderson's type of film. I think they're trying to be kind of funny and quirky, and there's some kind of humor about the fact that they're investigating a murder from a play that's about murder. So I think there's supposed to be some comedy, or that's what's supposed to be interesting about the movie. But like most people that reviewed this movie, this is a really boring, not funny movie. I thought they really missed the mark. I don't know, the comedy just never worked for me. And the whole murder mystery part was never that interesting, and then the climax wasn't that great. And yeah, I was just bored to tears throughout this whole. And I'm not the only one. Everybody says, I always say movies are boring, but I swear I'm not the only one that said this movie's boring. I think check out Mike from Did You See That? I think did this. I think I've heard some other people. I think Elliot from IMO Reviews reviewed it. I think Jacob Martin maybe has reviewed it, but anyways, I've heard them all say it's boring, so I'm not the only one. So I know I say movies are boring, but this movie was truly, truly boring and uninteresting overall. And like I said, I love Sam Rockwell. He's one of my favorite actors out there, and he can be very funny. Of course, he won an Oscar. So, I mean, he's a really good actor, and one I really enjoy. And he was just so an uninteresting, unfunny character. And his character had this attitude of he didn't want to be there. And I'm like, why did you get Sam Rockwell, who's so good, into this really boring, know-nothing part, who's the main character, who's just the most uninteresting character you can, I don't know what they're going for. Because he comes in and in fact, he doesn't really talk that much, it feels like. He just gives people looks. And he just kind of whatever. He's just very lazy, detective, who has no passion for his job. And so I almost feel like Sam Rockwell didn't really want to be there because his character didn't want to be there. And so it's man, why am I following this character who I just care nothing about? Anyway, Saoirse Ronan was trying to be funny. She had most of the comedic lines, I think. And there's some comedy there with her. She writes everything down in a notebook, and they keep kind of referencing the fact that she's just constantly writing stuff down. even if she doesn't really need to. But and she had some jokes in there, and I feel like I really like her as an actress. So like she did her best, I think, with the role. It just wasn't a good movie, unfortunately. So I would say definitely don't watch See How They Run. I think I haven't heard anybody give a good review on it really. So yeah, next movie is another movie that kind of got really bad reviews, and that's called Moonfall. Has a Halle Berry, Jason Patrick, John Bradley, kind of the main cast of the movie. And if you ever heard it, it's a I think a Roland Emmerich disaster movie because he does all these disaster movies. And I'd say I'm not like a big fan of disaster movies. I feel like I've seen so many of them with like 2012 and The Day After Tomorrow, Armageddon, and recently St. Andrews Fall, or St. Andrews, whatever, with The Rock. It feels like every couple of years we get like these big, you know, disaster where the world's ending and there's all these, earthquakes, floods, meteors coming down from Earth, destroying things. And I guess I'm getting kind of tired of disaster movies, to be honest. Like, they're kind of cool at first, but then after a while it's like, oh, I feel like I've seen this movie already. So it's hard to bring anything new to the disaster genre, in my opinion. And so this is one that it got terrible reviews. It's probably considered like one of the worst movies of the year. And I was watching it and I'm expecting it to be like the worst movie of the year. And I would say it's not the worst movie of the year. In fact, there's a lot of movies that are just way worse than this one. It's definitely not a good movie. And in fact, watching it, I wasn't like bored, or I was kind of like hanging on with the storyline. I'm like, okay, there's kind of this mystery about the moon. The moon is out of orbit, so it's causing floods and destroying things. And John Bradley plays this conspiracy theorist who thinks the moon is hollow and it's just a mega structure, he calls it, around something. Anyways, and so it's interesting. Obviously, the moon is not hollow; it's a real thing. But the fact that the moon's out of orbit, it's coming close to the Earth, I think, so it's causing all these, gravitational problems and stuff. It's not the most, I guess it's an original idea I've never seen before, but it's not the most interesting idea for a disaster movie. One of the weakest ideas I think I've ever seen, like the moon is causing this, I don't know. So, and it's mostly floods, destroying buildings and stuff. And so I don't know, it's nothing new or interesting necessarily. At the same time, it wasn't like the worst thing I've seen. I'm watching it going, okay, like I'm following along. Then we get towards the end, by like the last, I feel like 20, 15 minutes of the movie. All of a sudden you find out there's like, and I'm spoiling the movie because don't worry, it's not a good movie, but there's like this alien energy source. I don't quite understand it myself. Inside the moon is a like mega structure that surrounds this energy source, and the energy source, like I think it's alien or something. I don't know. It projects images in your mind and stuff, and it kind of explains the origin of it and the history of like the moon. And you find out that, again, I think I had a hard time understanding this, but I think this is what it was trying to say, that I think aliens created human life and created like the universe. And there I have a problem right away because, of course, I believe God created humankind and the universe. I don't believe aliens exist anyways. And the idea that there's no God and that bothers me right away. I was like, okay, I'm totally out of this movie now. I was kind of like giving this movie a pass, but then now I'm like, okay, this is so stupid. And so then the aliens like invented or created human life, I think, and at least this energy source. And this was like a billion years ago, like several billion years ago. Human life was like very advanced, like way more advanced than it is now, billions of years ago, which is just so absurd to think about, of course, because over time we get more advanced. We don't get less advanced. I don't know. It was one of the stupidest plot lines I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like, okay, I understand why everybody hates this movie, why it's one of the worst movies. Because when you get to that point, towards the end of the movie, you get this whole information dump where you're like, okay, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. And yeah, I'm totally over this movie. Anyways, and then they created some AI that then tries to kill all human life. So it's this whole AI killing human life. And that's what's on the moon right now. There's this AI nanobots that destroy ships shuttles and stuff that come by. And anyways, it's trying to destroy the alien life source thing. I don't know, inside the moon, but it can't. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. But somehow they have to save the moon, so from this AI. And yeah, it's just the stupidest, dumbest plot I've ever heard. And at that point, I was like, yeah, this is such a stupid movie. Like, I almost wanted to like it, and then I was like, okay, there's no way you can like this movie. It's just, the ending is just so dumb. Kind of ruins the whole thing. Anyway, so that's what I say about that. I wouldn't recommend watching it. John Bradley, who I really liked a lot in the movie, actually, he was in Game of Thrones. He played Sam Tarly, who I really enjoyed in that series. So I was like, I'm glad to see him do something else besides Game of Thrones and actually do, I thought, a really good job. Like, he was definitely the highlight of the movie. So I was like, hope he gets more work anyways, even though this was not a great start for him. Anyway, so yeah, Moonfall, definitely a movie I would skip. All right, I'm going to get to a good movie that I watched that really surprised me how much I really enjoyed it. And that is the movie Bullet Train. Came out earlier this year, I believe. And it stars Brad Pitt. And it has a pretty good cast overall. I'm trying to think. Brian Tyler Henry, I think his name is. And Aaron Taylor Johnson are in it, and they're really good. Joey King, I think her name is in it. She's pretty good in it. It has a lot of good cameos as well. Zazie Beetz is in it. Anyways, it's just, if you've seen it, it's set in Japan on a bullet train, one of those trains that go really, really fast. And he's like, works as for an assassin group, but he's not an assassin, I guess. He says he's just a snatch and grab. His job is, he's getting paid to go on this train, and he's supposed to grab this briefcase and get off the train and hand it to somebody. And it's a very simple plot to begin with, which I really love. And so he goes in to do that, but then something happens and he can't get off the train. All of a sudden, there's these assassins are all trying to kill him, try to get the briefcase. And there's the son of like a Russian mobster in Japan called the White Death, which is a really cool name. And so it's kind of this action comedy, or as the movie goes on, you get more and more of this plot, which I love, that all these assassins are coming after, and Brad Pitt is forced to kind of fight them, even though I love Brad Pitt's character because he's kind of the Zen character who doesn't really want to kill people. He really wants to go off to like a temple and meditate. He keeps going, I need to get off this train and go like to a temple and meditate. And he really wants to get out of the business he keeps talking about. But then there's always somebody trying to kill him, so then he has to defend himself. But yeah, it's a really funny movie. That's what surprised me the most. I laughed throughout the whole movie. Especially, everybody says this, and it's true. Like I said, Aaron Taylor Johnson and Brian Tyrese Henry, I think his name was. They play these two kind of brothers, I guess. They call them twins, called Lemon and Tangerine. Because everybody has nicknames. And one of the things I love about the movie is everybody has a nickname. And they're all these cool nicknames. And you meet them, and then they will put on the screen their kind of nickname. And they'll put it in Japanese also, in like kanji, whatever, because they're really playing off the fact that they're in Japan on this bullet train. And so you get all these names like Lemon, Tangerine, or these two twins, assassins, and like Brad Pitt's name, I think, is Ladybug. You get like the Hornet, like I said, White Death, the Wolf, the Prince. I don't know. Like, I love all the nicknames. The Elder, I think, was one. Everybody has a nickname, and as soon as you meet them, you get the nickname. A lot of times you meet them and you get the nickname, and then you get a little bit of a backstory behind them to kind of cover why they're there, kind of thing. And so I loved all that. I loved the whole storytelling of that, of meeting these new characters. These new characters keep coming in and out of the movie, basically, and you kind of get a little bit of okay, who's this guy and how they're connected to this person, because it goes from a simple plot to a very complicated plot, which I thought was really nice storytelling, and I love how the whole story evolved during the movie. Anyways, but Lemon and Tangerine, definitely, everybody says they're the two best characters, and they're absolutely right. I was watching it, and I knew watching it, I've heard that those are the two best characters, and yeah, they're absolutely hilarious together. They're constantly bickering about little things that really have nothing to do with anything, and they're having a lot of funny conversations, and I think, especially, I said Brian Henry, absolutely hilarious throughout the whole, maybe my favorite character of the whole movie, and kind of stole every scene that he was in. And they have these British accents. Did a really good job. And Brad Pitt, like I said, does a really good job with his character. He's very funny throughout. And also the action sequences are really, really well done and very interesting, and never get boring. They keep coming with new ways to do an action sequence, and shot very well. The director, David Leitch, of course, when I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, this guy's one of the best action directors out there. He co-directed John Wick. He then went to direct Deadpool 2, Atomic Blonde. There's some of the other movies. So he's been known to direct these really action stylized movies, and used to be like a stuntman, I believe, before. So he really knows how to shoot an action scene. So I love the stuff he's doing. And this is, I think, maybe my favorite film of his that he's done. His co-director has directed all the other John Wick movies, which is my favorite like action franchise. So those two guys are like two best when it comes to action. So I love what David Leitch does, because when I was watching it, it does feel a lot like Deadpool. There is some fourth wall breaking, not a lot like Deadpool, but every once in a while there'll be a little bit of a look at the camera kind of thing, or doing a backstory of a character, and I don't know. So it reminded me a lot of Deadpool kind of humor. So I saw that, I was like, yeah, okay, this makes total sense. It's like Deadpool and John Wick put together almost. It's very, very violent, but it didn't bother me because I feel like it was very over the top violence at times, and it was a lot of fun, I think, overall. And yeah, it's just a really fun action comedy. I love action comedies. That's like one of my favorite genre of movies. So it definitely was like, it just hit me just right, like right where I love movies. It was my kind of movie for sure, like I said, with all that. And also is an interesting movie that how it kind of talks about fate and, you know, luck. And I love the whole conversation and where it goes with Brad Pitt's character says he always has bad luck, and throughout the whole movie he keeps saying, I'm just bad luck, you know. And there's another character this girl who keeps saying, I'm always have good luck. People are like, how did you do that? How did you know that? And she goes, I'm just lucky. I just have good luck. So there's these two opposites, believing like, you know, you believe you always have bad luck, or you believe you always have good luck. And the idea of like, do we have bad luck? Do we have good luck? You know, do we have bad luck? Does bad luck bring us to a spot where we need to be in life? And there's kind of this idea of like, you know, fate, and like, it was, you know, Brad Pitt feels like, oh, he's just so unlucky. And this other guy says, no, you know, all these circumstances brought you here for this purpose, and you have a purpose. It's not bad luck. It's what it needs to be, you know, kind of thing. And so he kind of changes his mind about maybe not having bad luck after all, and that all the bad things maybe that happened to him were for a reason and a purpose. And I enjoy that aspect of that idea. That sometimes we think bad things are happening to us, but sometimes it's, you know, we don't want bad things to happen, but yet sometimes we don't realize the good that happens too, and that certain things happen to us that bring us to a place where we can do good. And so I like the idea of never thinking that you're always, you know, in a bad place, that you actually have opportunities that you don't see that are actually good and all that. Anyway, so I love the whole conversation between destiny, fate, bad, good luck. I thought that was very interesting throughout the movie, and kind of the character, somewhat of a character arc, character change for Brad Pitt's character. And the last scene, there's a big showdown, and it's really nice action sequence. A little ridiculous at times, but still a very nice showdown. I love how everything, the climax, I love how everything kind of comes together. There's certain things that happen earlier in the movie that come to fruition in the end. Where we see something and then we go, okay, I know that's going to play a part later. And then when the person pulls it out, you're like, oh yeah, I remember that from earlier in the film, and it played an important part like I thought. So I love when scripts do that and directors are able to do that. And it's directed very, very well. Like the action scenes are shot so good. And as they're following on this bullet train, the whole movie takes place on a train, basically, with a bunch of cars, of them going back and forth. And there's some really great shots. Like I love like when there's a scene where he wants to get off the train, and the train's like moving, and all of a sudden it stops, Right when it stops, you see this character's face through the door, and it's like, man, that was such a great reveal of that character. Like, and you go, okay, that character must be important because they obviously, didn't reveal him until the train stopped, and all of a sudden his face like just showed up. And so there's a lot of great shots like that, I thought, throughout the movie. So yeah, to me it was best action movie I've seen this year. Also had great comedy in it. And I thought the script actually was just brilliant all the way around. I just loved the whole tone, the whole feel of it, uh, what they did with it. Anyways, I think if you like movies like Deadpool, especially, you would really like this movie, like I did. Yeah, and I give this. To me, this is a 4 out of 5 stars, which to me is a really strong recommend. And I think right now I would say it's probably my favorite movie so far I've seen this year. And it's surprising because I wasn't expecting that much out of it. And then watching, I was like, wow, I really love this movie. Like, this is might be my favorite movie now, which I wasn't expecting at all. Watching the trailers, I didn't know anything really. So yeah, and I've heard pretty good reviews, but I mean, this really exceeded my expectations. So I highly recommend if you like, if you don't mind violent action, and some comedy mixed in. This is a perfect movie for you anyway. So yeah, definitely I recommend check out Bullet Train by David Leitch anyway. So yeah, so that's my opinion on that. That's the 3 movies I'll cover for this week. So just thank you. Give me your comments. What you think about these 3 movies. You like them, you don't like them. And just thank you to everybody watching this video. Thank you for liking it. And just thank you to all the subscribers for supporting the channel. I really appreciate you, and I hope you have a good day.